Thank you. I'm wearing the same shirt. Look, it's actually quite a good time, wasn't it? HMOs are absolutely compliance-heavy beasts. It's extremely important to get that compliance right, especially when you're looking at projects, when you're ongoing, and then looking at what's coming in the future as well with all of the renters' rights and other legislation changes that are coming. It's going to have a big impact on the HMO sector, especially, well, we'll see how the response to the committee report of the House of Lords goes, but especially to the student landlord sector for things like paperwork. But HMOs are compliance heavy from a building perspective as well as from a paperwork perspective. So some of the things I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to talk a little bit about KPA. I know a lot of you know us in the room, but for those that don't, I'm just going to quickly buzz through some information about us. Why HMOs are compliance heavy beasts, because it's helpful to understand the why before then knowing the what. And then going to look at three key areas: fire regs, licensing and planning, and of course tenants. And for each one I'm going to talk about something specific, and then what could go wrong, and then what actually are we doing when we're advising clients and we're managing our own portfolio to make sure that everything's being done compliantly. I got the fun job of trying to make compliance interesting just before lunch, so we'll do a bit of a pop quiz in the mix of it, guys. Work with me and we'll go through it and cover it. So who are the KPA Group? Who are KPA Property Management? Again, I know a lot of you in the room know us, but for those that don't, the KPA Group has been family run since my grandma set it up back in 1948. Something I'm extremely proud of, to be the third generation still running KPA. She's no longer with us, sadly, but I'd like to think she's extremely proud of the legacy that she created through the hard work that she put in, and long may that continue. We are investors and landlords, as Angie mentioned earlier as part of the introduction. We have a diverse portfolio throughout Bristol, the South West and South Wales, but we always self-managed our portfolio because of the experiences that I had as a student in Bristol. Living in a 9-bed student property on Park Street with an old school landlord probably gives you a little feel for what that experience was like. Things were damp, mouldy, never fixed and never sorted, and we wanted to do better within that space. We are, of course, as part of that group, very proud hosts and partners within Partners in Property. I'm running the Bristol event for almost 6 years now, and it brings me great joy to see so many people in the room who are helping build that community with us and want to be part of what PIP's vision is. So it's brilliant to be part of that. And along the way, we set up our own letting agency, Lettings Without Compromise. When we looked into the market and things that other people were offering, there was compromise everywhere compared to the self-management that we'd done within the portfolio. So it's an agency built by landlords for landlords. Multi-award winning, very proud to be awarded the best residential agent in Bristol in 2023 and second best in the country at the Negotiator Awards, which is a huge national award, beating people like Andrews and some of the other big household names. So something we're extremely proud of, and we've got over 100 5-star reviews from landlords and tenants. And from tenants is the key bit there. Landlords are of course your clients, but I think a lot of people forget that tenants are also your customers. So to get great reviews from tenants is something, again, that we're extremely proud of. But that's us. That's a little bit about what we do. So, compliance-heavy beasts. I'm going to get a lot of audience participation here. Why do we think HMOs are compliance-heavy beasts?
High risk.
High risk. Why are they high risk?
Lots of people.
Lots of people, exactly. So,
People are random.
Dangerous. You're as much a danger to yourself, Lee, as the people are dangerous, mate. You're absolutely right. A high number of unrelated people living in a single property. The way that the council view it and government view it is that if you've got a stranger living next door to you, if there was something like a fire in the property, you'd be out. You wouldn't be worrying about going and making sure that they get out okay. Whereas if you're a family, you're telling me there's absolutely no way those parents are leaving that house without grabbing their kids first. And that's the difference when you're looking at those. Dan's like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they grab. But that's the difference between an HMO and a family let. You've also got a higher proportion of people, a higher density of people living in that property. If you've got 5 or 6 friends or strangers living together, then they might be cooking 5 or 6 meals. That is 5 or 6 times the risk of a fire when someone is cooking within the property. Again, looking at bedrooms, if everybody in that property it's a house of all girls, maybe not anymore, and they all own a pair of straighteners, you've got 5 or 6 sets of straighteners that could set on fire compared to a family house, unless they've got 5 or 6 teenage daughters, that probably doesn't have that same high density of risk. John's like, oh, John's got 5 or 6 pairs of straighteners just for himself, look. He can only use one in each hand, but he's still got them. So that's why they're compliance heavy beasts, guys. It's really important to remember that when we're looking at all of the legislation and all of the things that come into play. So I'm going to start with fire. Fire, there are 3 key areas to be aware of. There's prevention, there's detection, and there's separation when we're looking at fire. So this is a video that was put together by the Lancashire Fire Brigade as to how quickly fire can spread within a bedroom, within a property, and how fast it goes up. There aren't many things in property that give me sleepless nights. Fire is one of them, because it is so easy, as you're about to see, for that fire to rage through a room in very quick time frame. All that's happened there is a bit of clothing on top of an appliance. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some things in that room that are pretty flammable, like, for example, the net above the bed. That's the child's bedroom rather than an HMO, but you can see using the timer at the top how quick that spreads. Once it catches, it goes up very, very quickly. So if you've got people with appliances, like I was mentioning before, a joke about hair straighteners, but appliances are one of the easiest things that can set on fire within a property. Small appliances, plug sockets, extension leads that are overloaded, all of those things can happen. And again, if you're in an HMO, you might have 1, 2 sockets, you've got all your bedroom appliances. It's just so easy for that to happen. And look how quick it goes up. We're not even a minute in and it's already starting to spread. Now, you saw in the video at the start, the smoke alarm was actually unplugged. So that's a battery smoke alarm. It's very easy for someone to take it out. They're asking in HMOs now for you to have smoke alarms that are mains powered, battery backup, and those batteries are tamper proof. That was a change in regulations recently. It's not the old 9 volts that you put in and pull out anymore. They're fixed within the unit so that if something like this does happen, again, it's an interlinked system. And I'll talk more about that in a moment, about detection, so that everybody in the property is aware that something like this is going on in the property if that's where it's going. It's very, very quick. It becomes a big problem very, very quickly. So guys, you can see 2 minutes. That's all it was, it's 2 minutes. And that room is now ablaze.
Average response time from the fire brigade?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot longer than 2 minutes, that's for sure. There you go, 2 minutes 24. And I'm not sharing this stuff necessarily to scare you, but to make you aware of how important the regulations are and why they are there. Again, coming back to the idea of an HMO being a high-risk property, just make sure that you are keeping yourself compliant. So 3 areas. First off, prevention. As a landlord, there's not actually lots that you can do in terms of prevention because there are not loads in the property that you can prevent a fire from happening. You can stop the spread of fire, you can do the detection quite well, but things that you can do to be on top of, appliances are one. Appliances is a bit of a strange part of legislation because as a landlord, you are obligated to make sure that all appliances you put into that property are safe for use. You're not obligated to get PAT tests, but the only way you can prove they're safe for use is by getting a PAT test. But hang on a minute, Ben, PAT tests are only for small portable appliances. That's why they're called a PAT test. If you're going to get a PAT tester and get them to test the fridge as well, why would you not? It's the same price while they're there at the property. Just get it done once a year and show that everything is okay. If tenants want items tested, ask them to leave them out in the communal spaces. If you're renting by the room and you're offering compliances in the kitchen, get everything done once a year. It's not an expensive test, but it makes a big difference. Propped open doors. How many of you guys have been to an HMO as part of doing an inspection and noticed that the kitchen fire door's just been propped open even though you've got a closer on it? Yeah, it happens a lot. I can see it. Well, exactly. But if you're not then showing that A, you've seen that, and B, you've acted on it, so you've sent a message to the house to let them know they shouldn't be propping fire doors open, then you're now contributory negligent because you knew that was going on within your property. Again, you need to make sure that you're documenting these things. It's really, really important. Detection. So part of the pop quiz. Guys, what's the difference between grade A and grade D when it comes to fire systems?